It is like a Dr. Frankenstein kind of thing, you know, like you're making a monster.
What's that?
It's her book of scary stories.
Art heals. As a top comment on Lizzo's Juice video points out, if you hate yourself, her music will help turn that around. Films like Frank will never cease silencing my doubts over crafting sentences and videos as idiosyncratic as this. For all the times art has talked you and I off a ledge, the least we could do is preach its positive influence, and we do. We wear the merch, buy the tickets, but when it comes to questioning art's negative influence,
I'm hearing more and more people say the level of violence.
when it comes to questioning whether or not art that depicts violence leads to real violence, I stand firmly on one side. No! It doesn't. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark says this is hypocritical. The film's opening phrase, stories heal, stories hurt, is a challenging couplet for any art lover to confront because we want to focus on those aforementioned positive aspects of storytelling. But if we are going to recognize art's ability to influence our mood and mind positively, then we must also recognize its ability to influence us negatively. As Stella, the protagonist in Scary Stories, says, stories
Make us who we are. That can be scary.
This concept that stories make us who we are is scary because while stories from positive people like Lizzo help make people lovers, stories from a bully might make people monsters. The bully in Scary Stories is the Bellows family. Each member played a role in torturing the young Sarah Bellows. She was locked away in a cellar and soon admitted into an asylum where her own brother administered electroshock therapy. Sarah was treated like a monster. Every day the story she heard was, you are evil, you don't deserve to live. You are evil, you don't deserve to live. You are evil, you don't deserve to live. And as Stella says,
If we repeat stories often enough, they become real.
Sarah Bellows became the story she was told by killing herself and eventually harming others.
This town made me a monster. Now that's what I'll give them. He's a real nowhere man.
Sarah Bellows' book, where the stories write themselves and it all comes alive.
Sitting in his nowhere land.
Sarah's decision to hurt people by sending monsters supports a somewhat controversial concept. No one is more dangerous than a victim. As post-colonial thinker Edward Said wrote in his piece Reflections on Life in Exile, exile begets exile, or in our case, victim begets victim. School bullies often come from broken homes where they themselves are bullied. Alan Moore's Joker was born from a bad day in which monsters and God treated him like a joke. I can be cold and distant because I felt people were being cold and distant towards me. The examples go on, but there is potential for good. Some people seek to keep whatever victimized them from harming others. How a victim gets to that point, goes from being Joker to Batman, is what Scary Stories tries to figure out. Sarah became the monster her family wrote her to be when she started sending toeless ladies and marshmallow women to swallow Stella's friends. The thing that changed Sarah's ways, that turned her from herder to healer, was an alternative to the narrative she grew up hearing. Stella researches the Bellows family's dark past and tells Sarah the truth. She isn't a monster. The way her family treated her was rooted in prejudice and greed, and in no way was it her fault. Victims of monsters need to hear that they are not monsters themselves, or they remain at risk of becoming as monstrous as the people that hurt them. When a person who was oppressed goes out and fights that oppression, it's partly because someone or something showed them they could. A young Ava DuVernay likely heard the dreams of Martin Luther King Jr., and now she works to make those dreams come true through her films. Victims like Sarah, who don't hear those positive stories of hope and change, are doomed to repeat the negative ones they were told until someone like Sean or Stella shows them an alternative. Now, being a victim of abuse does not excuse one's own abusive actions. Stella tells Sarah how fucked up it is that she went after her friends, but now Sarah can take a seat and change her ways. Knowing the truth, Sarah stops the haunting, stops being a monster. The Nowhere Girl's soul is finally at peace.
I'm gonna be around my vegetables.
Sarah behaving monstrously after constantly being told she was a monster proves a story can hurt, but only when heard in a vacuum. That is when art crosses into propaganda.
Don't make me do this.
If the only images you see are men mindlessly killing each other, you may end up wanting to do some mindless killing yourself. And if all you read are obnoxiously smiley self-help books, you may end up becoming an obnoxiously smiley person as well. Sarah ceasing her crimes after hearing an alternative to the story she had heard her entire life shows how essential it is to have a balanced diet of stories coming into your brain. Sprinkle a little positive Lizzo onto your steady stream of violent Tarantino movies and vice versa. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark shows that a diverse array of art influencing the way you think is the best way to keep stories healing,
You got to
not hurting.
get up every morning with a smile